We were in Costa Rica for, almost a month, almost a full month over there.
Well, welcome back to Texas. You
Well,
know what they
thanks.
say, all the exes live in Texas, right?
Well, that is, for the most part, accurate for many, many people, I assume.
Yeah, what can I tell you?
No, it was good. We had a little bit of trouble getting back. Had to spend the night in Dallas, and then rented a car instead of a flight because all the flights were canceled, and it just drove back.
Well, that's better than my 3 extra days in Barcelona. So,
I have been stuck in Barcelona before, and I gotta be honest with you, I wasn't mad about it.
oh no, I was very frustrated because I wanted to get home, but the flip side of it was um, for people who have been tested positive with COVID,
Mm.
many people have had much worse experiences. I wasn't isolated. I wasn't required to stay in my hotel room or some isolation hotel somewhere at
Oh
exorbitant
wow.
expense. I could walk around outside. I ate outside. I worked in my room when I was working in my room. And when I wasn't working in my room, I was outdoor walking on the La Rambla, which after 3 days gets a little old, frankly. But, it was, as things go, I was very fortunate and I felt like I had a mild cold. So it was not like, um, the COVID experiences that
Right.
many people have where they're really, really sick.
Yeah.
Mine
Yeah.
was just mine was just a mild cold. Um, and other than testing positive, I never would have known.
Well, I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad you're back.
Yep, indeed,
All right,
indeed.
I'm gonna kick off the show. You ready to jump in?
Anytime you want.
All right.
Welcome to the CXR channel, our premier podcast for talent acquisition and talent management. Listen in as the CXR community discusses a wide range of topics focused on attracting, engaging, and retaining the best talent. We're glad you're here.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the CXR podcast. I'm Chris Hoyt. This is season 5, episode something another. So we're glad that you actually could join us. I've got a fun guest today, but let me remind you, we are usually streaming these live, so you can watch them on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and you can grab them and subscribe anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. So do us a favor, head out to cxr.work/podcast. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can check that out. And if you are joining us live, you're able to drop a note in any of those streaming channels where there is a chat window, and you can just contribute to the conversation. We may even pull you in. You never know. But I want to kick off today. I've got a guy who's been around for a little while. He knows this space as well as a few other spaces. So he's going to be fun to bring in here. We're going to talk a little bit about a big recruiting report and kind of the stuff that goes on over at the AIM Group. Peter, how are you?
I am great. Thank you very much. It's good to see you. It's good to see you're back in Texas. And yeah, life's good. Indeed. And the world of recruitment is in the 8th radical change in the last 5 years or something like that.
I expected you to say the last 5 weeks because that's kind of what it feels like to me.
Yeah, there've been some rather substantial changes. From the giant crash of March 2020 to the big rebound last year, and now it's kind of everything's changing again.
Yeah,
or still.
Well, for sure. So, Peter, I've known you for a while, but for those who don't know you or know about you, why don't you give us? I like to call it an escalator pitch of who is Peter Zollman and what does he do?
Am I going down the escalator or up the escalator?
I suppose that depends on your pitch.
And you've seen the video of the guy, the escalator gets stuck and he can't figure out how to get off, right? I'm not one of those, happily.
I think 90% sure he was drunk in that video.
Maybe. Anyway, the AIM Group has focused on marketplaces almost 25 years now, which is crazy. We started with classifieds. They were a huge category for newspapers. published Classified Intelligence Report. Now it's known as AIM Group Marketplace Report. When we started, the Monster Board was a big thing. Now the Monster Board has morphed into Monster.com, and Indeed is the big thing among job boards. But there are, probably 100,000 or more others all around the world, and we focus on them. We don't call them job boards anymore, but recruitment marketplaces.
Nice. And so it's kind of interesting though, because if you were to head out to the AIM Group site, I think you all publish reports on not just recruitment. You also do automotive. You do real estate. I mean, you've got a couple of different areas in there where you've really got some expertise, and you're cranking out some interesting stuff. Yeah.
We focus on what used to be called classifieds in the newspapers: recruitment, automotive, real estate, and the general goods category, or the horizontals, which I refer to as the stuff category, the Craigslist category. I got stuff I want to buy. I got stuff I want to sell. But recruitment is really a big focus for us because it's so important. Buying a car is important to people, but jobs change lives. And every time I do a presentation somewhere, I say to all the executives, the CEOs of the recruitment marketplaces, never forget you're changing people's lives.
Yeah.
And finding a job, quitting a job, helping people find a job. I mean, Indeed has a brilliant slogan when they say, "I help people find jobs," or "We help people find jobs," because it changes everybody's life when you get a better job or when you get laid off, all of those things. And right now, all of that's going on in abundance, sadly, and not so sadly, but
Yeah. Well, and I think your team, if I were to head out to your site today, as of the time that, we're sort of broadcasting this, recording it, your latest updates are about, I think the top headline was programmatic tools for third-party JV, so for job boards. But then your very next item is literally talking about Ukraine, Russia, and marketplace impact coverage. So when you're talking about changing lives, I mean, you guys really are paying attention around the globe to sort of what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, we have clients on every continent except Antarctica, and we've got people working for us on every continent except Antarctica. I find it astonishing. I have 3 people working for me or for us in Africa, one in Australia, 4 or 5 in Asia. I was on the phone this morning with our analyst in. He's outside Delhi, about an hour outside Delhi. So we've got people, and we've been doing this now for 25 years, which I had hair, and it was black, and now it's transparent pretty much. So
I'm not too far behind you.
And we do, by the way, the only we do a recruitment marketplaces conference. This year's is in Amsterdam. I got to talk to you about getting the hat over there, or getting you over there, or one of you to speak. But that's another conversation, obviously. It's in September in Amsterdam, and we get people, again, from all around the world, 200-300 recruitment marketplaces.
I love that. And that's RecBuzz, right?
It's called RecBuzz, RecBuzz, and it's great fun. And God, it's great fun to be back in person, in human. In human. I mean, this is a lot of fun doing this podcast, but being able to shake people's hands, sometimes fist bump, because some people don't want to shake. And doing all of the in-person things that you do, and the networking, and the sharing a beverage, and having lunch, and seeing speakers in person, and then walking up to them and asking them a question. It's much different than virtual.
Yeah. Yeah,
Much better.
We've just started. A couple of our meetings are coming back live. We kicked one off a little while ago. We got another one coming up in October, and I have to tell you, people are so excited to reconnect live. I mean, we're doing a dinner here in Austin. We've got the whole team coming into Austin. We're kind of like our version of an offsite. And so we're going to do a little dinner with any of our members that might be in the area. And we've got members driving 3 or 4 hours to get to sit down with somebody live and have a dinner in person again. People are chomping at the bit.
I call it GTFO syndrome. Get the flip out. People want to get the flip out. They just and it's great. I mean, it's really good to be able to do it again. It's great to reconnect in person. We had our autos conference in Barcelona, and we had hoped for 150, maybe 200. Just getting back to it after 2 years, we had close to 300 people.
Wow.
And from all around the world, India and South Africa and all points in Asia and all points in between. Anyway, you want to know about trends at Recruitment Marketplaces?
Well, yeah, but I want to talk a little bit about the 2022 Recruitment Report that you do an annual recruitment report, and it's not.
You mean this one?
Yeah.
Not that I want to show it off. And this is the preview. This is the preview edition that you can. I love that graphic, by the way. Love that graphic. We have a cartoonist or artist who just does these for us, and they're marvelous. You can download the preview edition for free. I don't want to do a sales pitch really, but you can download. It's 100. The whole report is 154 some odd pages, some of which nobody will care about because it's things like the top 3 verticals in Zimbabwe, recruitment marketplaces in Zimbabwe. We go from A to Z.
Yeah.
But we do have the top 15 recruitment marketplaces by revenue around the world, top 15 recruitment marketplaces by traffic around the world. You can even guess the number 1. Yes. By a wide margin indeed.
Shocker.
But we have, and a lot of it is qualitative as well.
Yeah.
So we have 3 great three great recruitment companies to watch. For example, one is a company called Talkin' Job, where you download an app on your phone. The AI asks you 6 to 9 questions. You respond. They're all transcribed and sent to the company that's doing the hiring and sorted and AI'd, and then people get jobs. We talked to a company that said they're hiring about 10 people that way, 10% of their people that way.
Wow.
College Recruiter, Stephen Rothberg and Faith.
Yeah, we know Stephen really well.
We had an interesting article about what they're doing in international programmatic. And it's fascinating how they've evolved from this little, I don't want to say dinky because Steve will slap me, but from this little college recruiter site in the US to a global programmatic entity. We have, and the main thing though we focus on are the trends. And the trends we're seeing, about 10, 12 years ago, I wrote an article that said, in 10 years, if you're just a job board, you won't be around anymore. And the fact is, I was smart back then. I'm not sure I am anymore, but I was smart back then. A job board that's just a job board is pretty much irrelevant right now. A job board right now has to have all sorts of tools and technologies and bells and whistles that aren't really bells and whistles, but the basic people find jobs and find employees. You help people find jobs. You have to have more than just post and pray. You have to have high quality search and matching, not just the keyword matching from 10 years ago. You have to have high quality search and matching. when we're looking for people, we tend to use ZipRecruiter, Indeed, or LinkedIn. And oh my gosh, they really do a very good job of pointing out candidates to us that match our criteria and are open to joining us and so forth.
Yeah.
You can't just throw, a job posting on a website anymore and hope people respond. Job boards are switching also from cost per, duration-based posting, post for 30 days
Yeah.
or slots. They're switching to cost per click. That's not so new. Cost per apply. That's even not so new. But cost per valuable and valid apply, that's a lot tougher to determine. Cost per hires, turning them more into a recruiter mode.
Yeah.
Cost per hire is very difficult because how do you prove the person came through this or that recruitment marketplace? But there are ways, and they do that. So it's and of course AI, and more recruitment marketplaces internationally are incorporating their own ATS as opposed to incorporating into someone else's ATS. At this point, incorporating into an ATS is almost table stakes, but many of the recruitment marketplaces we work with have built in their own ATS.
Well, I think that just it is no different this year than last year than 5 years ago. When everybody was saying this is, job boards are dead, this is the year job boards die. Like it really is just, I think, a matter of just evolving. Like they must change to survive, like any other business, right?
The interesting thing is that everybody's been saying job boards are going to die for as long as I can remember, and they aren't going to die. People still need an Iraqi prospect said to me about 17 or 18 years ago that he said, no matter what happens, people are always going to have to find a job or find employees. They're going to have to find a house or find a place to live. They're going to have to find a car or sell a car and buy stuff and sell stuff. The only question is how. And I saw him recently, and I told him if I had to pay him $1 for every time I quoted him, I'd be paying $1 million. But the reality is, it's right. It's true.
Yeah.
People are still always going to need to find a job, need to find employees. And the question becomes, how do they do that? And we won't call them job boards in 5 years, probably, but they're going to be pretty integral in finding the right people, finding the right jobs. Now, one of the things that's a big new trend is using social communities like on Slack or GitHub. Just dropped their job board, actually. But in those social communities, incorporating recruiting elements without turning them into a job board. And the recruiting elements are very important because you find people of a like-minded community who may not be looking for a job, but say, oh, my friend Bob or Shirley, or hey, did you see this one? And it's a network effect.
I do think it's interesting, and Slack's a really great example. There are some interesting technologies that have begun to incorporate these recruiting touch points. So I think it's interesting that you bring that up. But I also think what's kind of fascinating, at least to me, is the AI component of that as well, where we're seeing that delivered more and more within platforms to recommend roles, especially for internal mobility, where people are giving that a hard look. In the new report that's come out, and I know you don't want to sell it. I just think it's super great. And
I definitely want to sell it. I mean, I just don't want to turn this into a sales pitch.
But I think it's a good call out. Like nobody pays to be on the podcast. We certainly don't take any compensation or any quid pro quo. So I just want to lay that out there, that if we say it's cool, it's because we think it's pretty cool. But Are you seeing any in the new report that you guys put out? Are you seeing anything in there? Because I know there is a section in there on AI trends, but from a selection and recommendation standpoint in that technology.
Um, hmm. We don't do selection and recommendation except in a consulting capacity. And frankly, on that one, we wouldn't even try to do selection and recommendation.
No,
But
sorry, Peter. I meant within the board, within sort of the job board technology arena. So services that are actually utilizing AI more to help with not selection of candidates, but candidates looking for jobs, like matching people to those roles.
oh, absolutely. I mean, the quality recruitment sites are using AI more and more. I think some of it really is not true AI. It's more high end, Boolean matching and that sort of thing. But a lot of it is, and the reality is, as your search and match algorithms get better and better, and they're trained better and better. By definition, AI is when it trains itself, as opposed to when people train the technology. But those are hairs that I don't know that we have to split that hair. The reality is that there's a lot of very, very good AI out there. Certainly PandoLogic, certainly Pandora, certainly a bunch. I don't want to call out 20 companies, or I shouldn't call out one or two probably, but there's a lot of AI out there that is really ultimately making a difference for employers and job seekers or employees to improve their status in life.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been leaning in on the issue of transparency and certainly around ethics and AI and within that recruiting umbrella. So it's always interesting to me to kind of hear how services may be using something a little more than advanced Boolean, right? But to not just do recommendations there, but to sort of connect people to those particular roles. We do like what we're hearing from an internal mobility standpoint. And some of the AI in that space. But I'm really interested in seeing some people do some innovative stuff, the likes of Indeed, right, or the big boards to sort of incorporate that technology. But I'd really like to see some transparency around how they're doing that and that information that's being collected and used in that regard. Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. It's difficult to a degree for them to explain exactly what they're doing because by definition it evolves. It's a lot of them must be very, 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 very careful with data protection, especially I mean, every recruitment marketplace in the world needs to be careful with data protection, right? But in Europe especially, and in California especially, there are serious consequences about data protection, and anybody who operates internationally or globally has to follow the most stringent rules. So data protection's a problem or an issue, and we did a great article a couple of years ago about how all the dots were matching, and the graphic was just incredible. And it was what I call a 5'10" graphic. It was just a little over my head.
Yeah.
But it's all evolving,
Yeah.
and will most probably continue to evolve as long as I'm around, as long as you're around, as long as Jerry is around. God bless him. Until he takes off his hat. It's going to get better and better over the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years. But job boards won't go away. I mean, they have evolved into recruitment marketplaces. But as long as people need a job, and as long as employers need people to come to work for them, there's going to be an intermediary, whether that turns out to be a job board, whether it's a recruitment marketplace, whether it's a community that leads to finding jobs. in any way, shape, or form, they're going to be around.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I agree with you. And I think I think there's there's an opportunity here for a convergence of some of these, which will be kind of interesting. But your 150 some odd page report that has come out, I think folks can get that at aimgroup.com. But I think you mentioned, you talk about when we were talking earlier, Facebook or Meta, whatever the hell they want to be called this week. It's got some details in there from Recruit, which is obviously parent company for Indeed. I'm sure you do some Indeed stuff in there. Is there anything from a programmatic ads or AI standpoint that you'd want to call out in that report that people should sort of check out? Because I do think it's worth a look if you're a recruiting leader in order to help keep you updated on the space.
I think we have a pretty good qualitative overview. I don't think we have deep dive. I mean, in 150 pages, you have deep dive, or 70 pages, 60 pages, 80 pages of qualitative. You have qualitative. You have a lot of deep dive, but I don't think we have a deep dive into AI, into programmatic, into those kinds of things. But we cover the field broadly. And for people, the great thing about our reports is even the really, really super smart people who get our reports will say to us, yeah, I read every word, or I found 2 or 3 really interesting things in there. And to me, if you find 2 or 3 really interesting things that teach you something, give you a direction that you need to go, help you understand AI better, or help you understand programmatic better, or help you understand some of the challenges better, that's well worth the money and the time. And I'm not sure which is more valuable, but the money or the time. And by the way, as you and I discussed, if any of your readers, your viewers, your audience wants to use the code CXR15, they get 15% off. So brings the price down from $1,500 to whatever that is, about $1,350 or something. CXR 15, and there's a money back guarantee. Because I used to be proud of the fact that nobody ever asked for their money back. But in the past few years, we've probably had 3 or 4 people buy our reports and say, it didn't really have what I was looking for. And I said, we'll send your money back. And who wants an unhappy customer, So
Nobody. I know.
The cost to us is about $5-10 worth of, processing fees and time. Who cares? So if somebody buys it and they go, nah, this wasn't for me, just let us know and we'll give them their money back graciously. I used to say gladly, and no, I'm not giving money back gladly, but I'll give it
begrudgingly.
We'll give it back graciously. And you saw the report. Obviously, you found it worth spending 20 some odd minutes with me. So I think it's of great value. It's global. So for people who are just interested in the US, but even there, we've got Facebook, we've got a little bit about Craigslist and how their revenue has gone up and down it's all based on their job ads and that sort of thing. So it's worth it.
No, Peter, I really do think it's worth the time for folks to check out. If you're listening to us and not watching, we've got it scrolling across the bottom, and it's aimgroup.com, and the code Peter and that team has been so generous with is CXR15. So it's awfully nice of you to do that, Peter. We appreciate it.
We're happy to do it because, number one, you guys are good friends. Number 2, you guys are really good resources to your audience. I still haven't convinced Jerry to let me into any of your colloquium meetings, but I'm working on it. But you're a great resource to your audience. And every time I see you or Jerry speaking somewhere, I learn something, which is hard because I follow the space pretty closely. So
good stuff. Well, we're going to have to talk about Amsterdam. It sounds like something we need to get on the calendar.
We will absolutely talk about Amsterdam shortly after we're done.
That works for me. Peter, thank you so much for your time. Hang out for just a second in the green room, will you?
Will do. Thanks.
All right. I just want to thank everybody for joining us again for another show. If you have not done it already, head over to cxr.work/podcast. You can check out this episode as well as upcoming episodes, and you can see a full library recordings. We actually do put in the transcripts of the notes. Just takes a day or so for those to get processed and show up in there, but the shows show up almost immediately after we film them on the site. You can find a live chat there when we go live. So if you want to watch the show, you can do it there too. And if you are a CXR member or alumni, I'd strongly encourage you to check out cxr.work/events. And those are all of the upcoming meetings that we've got going on, whether it be a monthly lecture series, or whether we've got one of our member meetings or our alumni meetings. My own alumni word slipping for a minute, but you can check those out. We open those up to all members and lifetime alumni, so they're happy to do that. And until next time, we'll see you guys online.
Thanks for listening to the CXR channel. Please subscribe to CXR on your favorite podcast resource and leave us a review while you're at it. Learn more about CXR at our website, cxr.works, facebook.com and twitter.com/careercrossroads, and on Instagram @careerxroads. We'll catch you next time.